think we are live. I literally forgot how to do this, even though I've been doing this for like several months. I just forgot what buttons to press, and oh my gosh. So how are you guys feeling? I'm feeling very feisty and very fiery for some reason, which is why I wore this. Yeah, this is a really interesting full moon. There is a lot going on astrologically, energetically. I don't even know, man. I've been talking to some of you guys, and it's just, it hasn't been kind. That's what, I won't say who, but that's what one of you said to me, and that's really how I've been feeling. There's just a lot of interesting energy coming in. There's a lot moving, like a lot is being pushed out, and it seems, based on our discussions in the Discord, that there's like a massive amount of energy just being like pushed out. You know, it's like cleaning that closet in your house that you haven't looked at in like 3 years because it's just a huge mess and you can't even get into it. That's kind of what we're doing energetically. That's what it feels like. It's very deep and it's very personal. And it also feels as if the different deities, specifically goddesses, are kind of here to help us and to work with us. Because there's a lot moving right now, and I do think that it's really significant and it's important. Okay, so that's me. Let's start looking at, let's do the slides first. So we'll start small as usual, talk about Gemini, talk about Venus and Chiron, both of which are stationary right now. And then we'll kind of get into like some of the weird stuff, which is my favorite stuff, to be honest. There's some things coming through yet, and to be honest, it hasn't really matured yet. What I've been seeing, the things that I've been feeling, they're kind of just starting to kind of spiderweb together. So maybe as we are going along, it will start to make a little bit more sense. But as of right now, it's not really coming full circle yet. But let's see what happens. There are a lot of alignments, a lot of interesting things. So, okay, let's put myself up there. Why isn't this working? That's interesting. Oh, also, wow, that's weird. What is that? So also, if you have your chart, go ahead and just grab your chart. What is happening right now? Oh, that's my wall. Okay. So have your chart handy, have the guide that I gave you handy. Also, if you are still learning, you know, what the houses are. Let me fix this a little bit. So I'm just like staring at my white wall here. Okay. So have that little thing handy that I emailed to you guys, just so you can refer to it to see how exactly this is affecting you. Oh, we're not going here. Okay. I'm definitely detoxing right now. I was visiting with my family and we ate a lot of sugary things, and every time I do that, every single time I kind of don't feel so well afterwards, and I have to kind of detox whatever. Let me make sure this is good. I'm just gonna look. Okay, so we should be good here. This is the cover that I chose. I do really think about this when I design it. It's not just random things. There is like an Isis connection that we will talk about, especially with the Taurus constellation. Oh my gosh, yeah, I don't even know where to start just because there is so much. And like I said, it feels like in the spirit world especially, and even in my own mind, it's like the pieces are still coming together and it doesn't make sense quite yet. But I think as we go through and as we start pulling some cards and whatnot, it will start to make a little bit more sense. So we're going to talk about Oya, we're going to talk about Pleiades and the Storm Sisters, which are the Hyades. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. We're also going to talk about the Golden Gate of the Ecliptic, which is really interesting. Chiron, Venus, la la. All right, let's get into it. Okay, Gemini. Honestly, I'm not just saying this. Gemini is one of my favorite signs. And I know Gemini gets a lot of hate, and I was actually like, honestly, high-key shocked when I learned that people don't like Geminis. I'm like, what? Like, honestly, it was pretty bizarre to me, and I didn't believe it because I think Geminis are just so chill. Even though they're not chill, even though they're very, very hyper, they're very chill. They're easy to talk to. And they're really smart, they're great conversationalists, and then they always have something interesting to add because they just are full of random facts. They like to gather like little bits of data everywhere that they go. I just really like Geminis. They're very socially graceful and they're very intelligent and entertaining, honestly. And that's why I put the Magician card up here too, because that gives me like big Gemini vibes for sure. Or I'm also thinking of like the Doctor in Doctor Who. I feel like the Doctor is definitely a Gemini, especially David Tennant. That's definitely a Gemini kind of energy. Just intelligent and a great conversationalist, maybe good with like the numbers, good at analyzing the data, taking in the information. So look at where Gemini is in your chart, and that will be relevant, especially at about 27 degrees. I don't remember the exact degrees where the moon will be at, but also at 0 degrees, because that's where the North Node is right now, before we go into the whole Scorpio-Taurus timeline. My mom got me this cup. It has my name on it. Okay. So, Gemini, the dance of the twins. Gemini's symbol is the twins, and their element is air. Their mode is mutable. And also, the planet that rules Gemini is Mercury, which is the planet of how we think. It's how we analyze data, how we take in information, and what we do with it. Mercury is... it's really just taking in the facts, taking in the numbers and what is at hand and communicating that. So it can be technology, it can be communication verbal, it can be nonverbal communication, also like transportation, technology. And that's why during Mercury retrograde, all that stuff just like straight up breaks down, because Mercury is going internal and that external stuff isn't really working temporarily. I always feel like I'm in Mercury retrograde. If you have Mercury retrograde in your birth chart, it's like you always live in Mercury retrograde. It's just always like that for you. And I actually find that people who have that in their chart, they either don't notice when Mercury's in retrograde, or it's like a great time for them. So like, yeah, everybody understands the issues I have every day with technology and communication and all that. So their symbol is the twins, and the house is the 3rd house, which is the house of communication, but also early schooling, technology, I would say. The 11th house can be a little bit of technology too, because of that like electrical kind of thing that that Aquarius and the 11th house has going on, the Uranus thing. The 3rd house is like the lower mind. Lower does not mean bad or worse or anything like that. The lower mind, which is the intellectual mind, the left-brained mind, basically. Okay, it looks like everything is good. I just want to make sure the screen isn't covering anything, because I have that problem sometimes. I don't even really check beforehand. I just kind of like do it, see what happens. I forgot to look up how to say this god's name in Egypt. Thoth, one of those, is basically like the Egyptian form of Mercury a little bit. There is like big trickster energy this full moon. Because honestly, Thoth was kind of Thoth. I'm gonna say Thoth, okay? So Thoth was kind of like a trickster a little bit, god of writing, magic, wisdom, and the moon. He was one of the most important gods of ancient Egypt, alternately said to be self-created or born of the seed of Horus from the forehead of Set. As the son of these two deities, representing order and chaos respectively, he was also a god of equilibrium. There's kind of like an obsession with Thoth for sure. Aleister Crowley had like this obsession with him. He even made that tarot deck, which I believe he says is channeled from Thoth. Whether it is or not, I don't know. It's up for you to decide. Honestly, I've never really encountered Thoth in the spirit world. It's not that I don't like the Egyptian deities, because I do, and I definitely have a connection to them, like a strong connection. From my past life visions, like I have had a past life in Egypt, but I was a slave and I was forced into the Egyptian religion. So that's kind of how I've always felt. I've always been like so drawn to Egypt, but like I've never had any interest in working with any of those gods or goddesses, probably because in a past life I was kind of like forced into it. So I've never personally seen Thoth. Maybe I have, but I just don't remember. So I don't have too much to say about him. So he's kind of similar to Mercury, and I definitely get Gemini vibes from Thoth just because he is the god of intelligence and wisdom and writing, since Mercury is also writing. And also with this full moon, the goddess asteroid Oya, and we will talk about Oya a little bit, she is a trickster as well, and she rules the marketplace, which Mercury is actually the god or the planet of merchants. Give a Gemini, probably more so a Virgo, but give a Gemini or a Virgo anything, they're both ruled by Mercury, and they will sell it. They can sell it, they can analyze every little detail of what's going on and just make it happen to sell that thing. I've seen it in action, and it happens so fast you wouldn't even catch on to what they're doing or how they're trying to analyze the situation to sell something. It's actually really interesting to watch. Okay. All right, let's get out of this just for a second and go back to the full screen. So I'm going to read to you some stuff about Gemini. Now, my astrology Bible, as I like to call it, Astrology, Your Place in the Sun by Evangeline Adams. It's a really old book, ghostwritten by Aleister Crowley. They're so brutal, to all the signs though, so it's equal. But I really like their view and how they describe the zodiac signs, because you kind of just see the same stuff all the time, Gemini's hyper, or I don't know. It's good to get your hands on a book, an old, good book, and learn about the signs that way. Okay, I'm just gonna read the first paragraph here they have about Gemini, just skipping over the dates, because as you know, that's kind of not useless, but kind of useless, so you have to know what time you were born or about. All right, Gemini is an airy, mutable sign, so lacking in stability that it, or its equally impressionable ruler, Mercury, will nearly always be influenced by some other planet in such a way that the type is constantly and radically varied. This is really interesting. So what they're really saying about Gemini is that Gemini is impressionable, and if you have somebody with Gemini rising, even Gemini moon I've seen, or Gemini sun, because Gemini is so flexible, mutable, and impressionable, it can easily be dominated by the other signs in the makeup. So I'm thinking about two of my best friends. One is a Taurus sun with a Gemini moon, and the other is a Gemini sun with a Libra moon. So which one do you think acts very, very Gemini? Just wondering what you think. So the Taurus acts like a Taurus, unless you know her really well, because Taurus is such a strong, fixed earth sign. They're so solid, they're so stubborn, and really in themselves, in their own values, and they are who they are no matter what happens. So she very much acts like a Taurus and low key like a Gemini, but my other friend who's a Gemini sun, Libra moon, that's both air. So she's very Gemini, you can really see it. So I almost wonder if she was a Taurus moon, if that would have the same effect. I don't know. So all mutable signs are flexible and impressionable, but just depending on the element kind of shows you how that manifests. Because Pisces is ruled by Neptune, and Neptune is so, dissolving reality, I think that Pisces people are impressionable emotionally, since it's a water sign, and also spiritually. Do you get what I'm saying though? And Sagittarius is very similar too, but it's more of changing the vision and, to explore and to learn, which is the Gemini-Sagittarius axis, you have to be flexible, And Virgo too, Virgo is very much in love with learning, and it's hard, sometimes it's hard for people to see how Virgo is flexible, but to problem solve and to constantly come up with new solutions to the same old problem, you have to be flexible. You have to be willing to continually change your method. While not that Taurus can't do that, but Taurus is this is how I'm going to do it. And if you tell me to do anything else, I will not do it. But Virgo and the other mutable signs as well, they're willing to at least try to change a little bit. And they are, whether they want to be or not, impressionable. So I thought that was interesting. What else here? Okay, so Gemini is always present and alert. They're always in the now. This book, what I like about this book is they actually talk about physical appearances a bit too, which, It's not always true, but there are certain things that I've noticed that they're correct about. So I'm very fidgety today. So I also just drank this cup of coffee in like 10 seconds, basically. So the moon is in Gemini right now. Geminis have like a bird-like face. It's not meant as an insult, but it is something that I've noticed. Like they have a very like dominant nose. And just kind of similar to Aries a little bit. Aries kind of has that like pointed, like forward face, and I feel that Gemini has that as well. Gemini rules the lungs, which makes sense, and they're impressionable. So this is a quote from that book. Gemini is capable of doing any kind of work, and of itself does not care in the least what that kind of work is. I actually bust out laughing when I read that, because Geminis, they are the very best of the jack of all trades. They can switch it up, learn a little bit about each thing, and get really good at it, but they're restless. They need that constant change. They need excitement. So they're kind of just like jumping around from one thing to the next. In general, with just the Gemini, it really depends on the other placements too. So this is another quote. The childishness of Gemini is very characteristic of the nature of his mind. And this is further indicated by the dual nature of the sign. We have to deal not merely with one child, but with twins. I thought that was really funny too. They crave novelty and excitement. I have to look into this more, but this book said that the United States is ruled by Gemini. And I was like, because technically the country was created in Cancer season, wouldn't it be ruled by Cancer? I have to look more into this. I know I've read before too that like Libra rules, I believe it's India. But if you think about the US being ruled by Gemini, I feel like that explains a lot. They talked a lot about how a lot of people, pretty much everybody in the US, we always jump from like one job to the next, to the next, to the next. Like there's very few experts anymore. We more just like learn a little bit about everything. And it also talked about, which I thought was interesting, how if in the US like things came to a standstill, it would be like detrimental, and made me think of like the lockdown and how everyone would just ask like all these questions, and like everyone's like curious kind of moving personality, like that stagnant energy can just turn into what I thought was like mental illness and like anxiety, which is really exactly what happened. And then the last quote from this book I'll read is, an extreme freedom of thought and speech is characteristic of this sign. It may be said paradoxically that the native of Gemini is so busy thinking that he never stops to think. I can relate with that a lot, honestly. Sagittarius placements as well. I feel like you could relate to that too. All right, so let's go back to the slides and Venus in retrograde. Oh, you know what? Let me look at the chat thing really quick. How do I do that? Okay. Oh, hey. Okay. Honestly, Janelle, I'm sorry. I was thinking about you too. Hello, Kelly. Gemini is in my 11th house. So you probably really understand that like electrical feeling I was talking about, like big time. Okay. Okay, so Venus in retrograde. So Venus and Chiron are going to be stationary during this full moon. I believe they're stationary right now already. I mean, if they're not, they're pretty much haven't been moving at all. So the energy of those 2 points is intensified and chaotic. So Venus in retrograde. All right, so because Venus is going to be going over Pluto 3 times in total, this is like serious emotional relationship, heart chakra purging. So thinking about old relationships, old friendships that have ended, things that you just haven't healed having to do with Venus. So things that you used to be attracted to. I've been listening to music that I really liked when I was like 13 and just like getting all stuck in like my feels about that. So things having to do with what you're attracted to, whether that's music, art, other people, close one-to-one partnership. So it's not going to be like a group, like a big group that you used to associate with. It's going to be like best friends or people that you had like really important relationships with that you need to heal that stuff. And it's happening in Capricorn too, which is like a tough like finality kind of feeling. It's definitely the Grim Reaper aspect of Kronos, which is Saturn. Also during this full moon astart, which Venus, Astarte, Ishtar, Inanna, that's kind of like the Inanna, that's the lineage. Astarte is conjunct Mars, Ishtar is conjunct Saturn, and Inanna is conjunct Jupiter. So, yeah, Venus, 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 Venus. When I was looking at this, the feeling that I got was the old feminine timelines where the goddess prevailed. Those are crumbling, and they crumbled for a reason, right? Because if we go from the goddess-dominated society, and then we went to the other polarity of the god-dominated society, why would we go back? I know you guys know this, but I'm just like reiterating it. And I think the purpose of that would be because it would ultimately lead to like another downfall. I'm reading When God Was a Woman by Merlin Stone, and she's an amazing author. It's a great book. And she's talking about how before science was understood to tribal societies, they thought that women just got magically pregnant. Like, they didn't understand that, like, a man gets a woman pregnant. They didn't get that. So to them, it was just, like, this very spiritual, magical thing that happened, which it is. But to them, they, like, women were basically, like, heaven on earth, which they are, but... So to them, it's kind of like women were the ones in charge because they were the ones that brought life here. So all property was passed on through the women. It was the women's names that the family had. Like, the tribes were just very women-oriented and goddess-oriented for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years before the patriarchal religions came in. So that stuff is collapsing, for a reason. And it's not to say that it was good or bad. It is what it is. And, like, we are here now and we need that balance. So that's kind of what I was thinking about this. Because we have Astarte conjunct Mars, the warrior. Ishtar conjunct Saturn. I feel like Saturn is, like, the epitome of the patriarchy in a way. So Ishtar with the patriarchy, and then Inanna with Jupiter. There's just, like... I can't think of, like, the words that I'm looking for right now. But do you get what I'm saying? There's, like... It's like brushing up against them, and like this is a really great time for us to do our magic and like make that mesh together and like weave it together and bring in this new era of balance and harmony between the two. I get kind of like mad about this. I'm like, why would we bring in the old? But then of course it's like, it's all thought through and for a reason, because it's still keeping the people divided, I think. And with the full moon aspects to Venus is quintile Chiron, so quintiles are the 5-pointed star, which is like the Venus aspect. So I'm just going to read what I wrote about that. To me, Venus quintile Chiron means healing magic must start within. And this retrograde will allow us to share our message with the world in a deeper, more profound way. That's just kind of what I thought. Venus quincunx the moon. I thought that meant the Pluto dance is the purge. It's either reconciliation or negation. So there's just like such a Pluto kind of like Scorpio black or white, yes or no, staying or over. It's just very like, this is what it is. And whatever changes you make during this time, like they cannot be undone. You might see it more so like within than without. It really depends. Venus sextile Mars, it's like magnetic attraction, or maybe even like magnetic like repulsion. Like if you're putting like the same like polarities together and they kind of just like push away, like you'll know intuitively what is meant for you and what isn't meant for you. People-wise or whatever. Music, I don't know. I've been like on a Green Day kick the last couple days. Venus square Hygeia. It's going to get messy, I think, the healing process, and it will take some work for us. It's not just going to happen. Okay, oh, and also look at where Capricorn is in your chart, so that will tell you where, I wish I had the degrees written down, that will show you where maybe the aspects in your life that's really going to affect it. So, like, for example, Capricorn, it rules my second house of values, and finances, but I also have Neptune and Uranus there. Yeah. So that's like the areas of my life where that might be affecting. Just look at where Capricorn is. I'm sorry, I don't have the degrees right now. If you remind me in the Discord, I'll find out what the exact degrees are as far as Capricorn goes. And you can also look at Cancer too, since that'll be opposite, which is my 8th house. So. Yeah. Okay, Okay, so next slide, let's talk about Chiron. Chiron is stationary as well. Oh yeah, I wanted to read, well, you guys probably already saw it because I put it in the Discord, but Demetra George's book, Astrology for Yourself. I actually got that book as a gift, not thinking it was going to be anything. I'm like, okay, it was a beginner astrology book, but like, I needed to like check myself because I learned so much from that book. Okay, in the Mythic Tarot, Liz Green associates Chiron with the Hierophant key as the inner spiritual teacher. One of the keynotes of the coming Aquarian age is for humanity to cease relying upon the authority of the external teacher and to discover the voice of the inner teacher. Situated in the solar system between Saturn, the outer teacher of the establishment, and Uranus, the voice of the intuition, Chiron is present wherever we undergo a spiritual crisis, where our inner intuition urges us to question orthodox dogma. So Uranus is intuitive. If you think about it, the nervous system's intuitive, ideas are intuitive, and knowing when to break down those things that aren't working is like such a highly intuitive process. And you can just like feel it. You don't even have to really understand it fully, but you'll know, like, feeling intuitive wise when you just need to like break free and just like let go of that stuff. In order to relieve Chiron's agony from his incurable wound from a poison arrow, Jupiter released him from his human immortality. He returned Chiron to his galactic origins by transforming him into the constellation of Sagittarius, half horse, half man. In the constellation, Chiron aims an arrow into the sky, which points to 27.5 degrees of Sagittarius, the galactic center of the universe. Now, this is freaking cool because the sun is going to conjunct the galactic center. I don't know what degree it is at right now. I feel like I don't know anything right now. So galactic center is conjunct the sun at the time of the full moon. Yes, I did not understand what this meant, so I just want to give a shout out to Kelly. Thank you for explaining to me what that means, the galactic center with astrology. It's the black hole. It's kind of like a rabbit hole of continued learning and knowledge. That's kind of like what I got from that. So it's really interesting because Chiron's arrow is pointing at it, and Chiron is stationary, which means it's really, really important this full moon, and the sun is actually conjunct the galactic center too. Okay, so Chiron is literally the key to astrology. So at some point, Chiron will leave our solar system, and then we'll go back to wherever he was in the galaxy. And Chiron is the bridge between our collective mind and the galactic dimensions. So Chiron is our link to communicating with intelligences outside of our conscious reality and planetary system, the key to the cosmos, which the symbol looks like a key also. I also wanted to say, so the sun is conjunct the galactic center, and it's also conjunct Draco. So we had, was it the new moon that was conjunct with Draco's eye, so the dragon's eye? Well, now the sun is conjunct the other eye. So the right eye, but if you were the dragon, it would be the dragon's left eye. So that is also conjunct the sun. So that fixed star is called Atamin, which comes from the Arabic At-Tanin, which means the great serpent. And that's from astrologyking.com. So we still have this Draco thing going on, and I don't feel that it's a culmination of what we were doing before with the new moon solar eclipse. It's different. It is more involved, I think, with the masculine energy side of things. That's just what I feel. So, yes, Draco the Dragon, still relevant. So, which makes me think, too, that this purging process that we're doing is important, and it goes really deep, and it has a lot to do with trauma. That's, after that solar eclipse, like, that's honestly how I see Draco now, is kind of like a collective trauma in a way that we can overcome and, like, slay that dragon, you know? Okay, Pleiades, M45, or also known as the Seven Sisters. So this is relevant. Did I even write down? So Pleiades is actually involved with the, oh no, was it the South Node? Yes, the North Node. So the North Node is conjunct the fixed star Alcyone, which is the central star of Pleiades. Pleiades has a vibe. I haven't really looked too much into like the starseed side of things with Pleiades, but like when I look at the stars, when I tap into that energy, there's something a bit warlike and chaotic there, I want to say. I don't know if it's because they're being pursued by Orion. There's something... It feels very like transhumanism to me for some reason. So I don't know what it is about Pleiades. Like everybody loves Pleiades. Humans been looking at that constellation for forever, and that's why I put the Nebra sky disk up here. So Pleiades is an open star cluster. It contains over 800 stars, according to space.com, and it is located in Taurus, the bull. So Taurus is going to be really important too. Even though, this is happening in Gemini, Taurus is important because we're going to be getting into that, and the bull. So the Nebra sky disk, this was really interesting because I know you guys probably know this as well, but like history is messed up. They say that certain things happen at certain times that just doesn't make sense. And that, like, I feel that, sorry, but like archaeologists, Egyptologists, they refuse to like believe that ancient people like really understood things like the precession of the equinox, but like they cannot accept it. So the dates that they give and what they have to say about these artifacts, I just don't feel is accurate 100% or like at all sometimes. So this sky disk, it was found with metal detectors in Nebra, Germany, among several Bronze Age weapons. And that was from the NASA website, which you gotta take that with a grain of salt. Some materials used were all the way from Cornwall, England, which is like about 762 miles away. So this was like an important piece, and they dated it at 1800 BC. So, I put 1600 up there. So it was dated at 1800 BC, and as I was reading about it, they're like, this is the oldest artifact that represents a specific astronomical phenomenon ever. Really? Like, are you serious? 1800 BC is the oldest one? And I'm going to show you why I don't think that's right. Because there's something called the Hall of the Bulls in Lessau, France. And it's a very famous cave painting of these bulls. Now, there are a lot of people who think that this is actually supposed to represent like the constellation Taurus. There's no way to know for sure, but the Hall of Bulls is 1600 to 1400 BC. Or no, 16,000 to 14,000 BC is when these paintings are dated. So, I don't know. First of all, I just find it hard to believe that, like, they were in these caves painting these things, but, like, they didn't think to, like, look up to the sky. There's a lot of cave paintings that have probable, like, things that point to the constellations. So this is, like, one of the oldest cave paintings ever. And this is dated at 40,000 years ago. So this is a really old cave painting of a bull. And there are a lot of people who think that this is actually the Taurus constellation. And a lot of people, including scientists, think that these might be astronomical calendars. So 40,000 years old, but then we have this Nebra sky disk at 1600 BC, and it's really what did they say about it? It's the oldest representation of a specific astronomical phenomenon. What is this? Oh my gosh. Okay. It's kind of the same with Egypt too. Like, all of these historians say they were so primitive, or like, we can't even figure out how the pyramids were. I'm getting into a rant, but we can't figure out how the pyramids were created, but they didn't know anything. And like, their math was so on point, we can't even understand how they were able to calculate things in their building process, but they didn't know anything. All right. So I thought this was interesting. I get a weird vibe about this, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what it is about this. I'm just gonna say it. I feel like it was put there, like maybe to like, so that we would think it was like the oldest thing. I don't know. Okay. All All right, so Pleiades, even though it's only making this aspect with the North Node in Gemini, this is really important because Pleiades, so here's Pleiades up here with the red circle, and then down here is Hyades, which is the Storm Sisters. I had a post about that at some point. There was some moon that was aligned with the Storm Sisters. So between these two is something that's called the Golden Gate of the ecliptic, which I'm going to be so for real with you guys. I didn't know was a thing. I just started looking up the alignments and the degrees of the planets, and then this is how I kind of came across this. So I did some learning, so hopefully I explain it okay. So the fixed star Alcyone is conjunct to the North Node in Gemini. So this fixed star is also one of the 15 Bohemian fixed stars, which are like the very, very magical fixed stars that no one knows, who prescribed these magical qualities to them. Its image is a little virgin or lamp. It strengthens the eyesight, assembles spirits, raises winds. Oh, that was weird. Raises winds and reveals secrets and hidden things. And that's at 0 degrees Gemini. Actually, Solar Fire had it listed at 0 degrees and 18 minutes of Gemini. So I'm kind of wondering too, look at where that is in your chart and what kind of hidden things or secrets are revealed there, or spirits, assembling spirits. I just thought that was interesting. Okay, this is Galileo's mapping of Pleiades, because he was the first person to look at it with a telescope, but civilizations have been looking at the Seven Sisters since forever, basically. Okay, the Golden Gate of the ecliptic. So the ecliptic, I'm just going to read from the Merriam-Webster dictionary. The great circle of the celestial sphere that is the apparent path of the sun among the stars. In other words, the line in the sky that the sun appears to follow. That's the ecliptic. So if you take Pleiades, the Seven Sisters, and you take, I'm trying to do it backwards, take Hyades, which is the Storm Sisters, between them is the ecliptic. So this is seen as the Golden Gate. So it's kind of like a portal of energy. There's definitely some kind of, how do I explain it? I don't know, there's some kind of electrical feeling, I think, with the Storm Sisters and the Seven Sisters, between these two points in the sky. There's some kind of energy between there. And this is another thing, there's so many conspiracies around this. The Talcadi sky tablet from 4,500 years ago, which is believed to display parts of the sky, including parts of Orion, the head of the Taurus constellation, ecliptic, Pleiades. It's kind of hard to see. I should have darkened it. That's a whole other thing. So, this is really interesting because if you've ever seen, I meant to bring my Isis statue down here. If you've ever seen Isis or Hathor or Bat, the goddess, Egyptian goddess, they have the bull horns with the solar disc. So back 4,300 years ago, the vernal equinox was still in the constellation of Taurus, which is where this is all happening. Today it is actually in Pisces. The Golden Gate is the ecliptic Milky Way crossing at the Scorpio-Sagittarius nexus on the zodiac, while the Silver Gate is the Milky Way ecliptic crossing at the Gemini-Taurus nexus. So this is from this website that I found, keyofsolomon.org, a really, really interesting article that really made me think about things in a different way. The Silver Gate was represented by the horns of Isis and the associated bull Taurus. I'm going to show you the website. So the reason this really caught my eye was because this, where is it? So this solar, everything I've read about this is Isis is a solar deity, that's the sun, and that's it. And obviously bulls were really sacred to many, many different cultures. The reason this really caught my eye is because I've seen the Morrigan with this on her head, and I didn't know what it meant, and it was so clear that I couldn't deny it. This is interesting because according to this website, I'm not saying if it's true or not, but it's definitely got me thinking, because the equinox was actually in the Taurus constellation, this person, whoever's website this is saying that this is actually supposed to represent the sun moving through the bullhorns in the Taurus constellation. And that like blew my mind, because I was like, oh, like actually that makes a whole lot of sense if at that time the sun actually was moving through the bullhorns. Okay, so where was I going with this? So it's interesting because the Morrigan is also associated with cows, specifically a red heifer. She has like this whole story with Cuchulainn, and she transforms herself into an eel, a wolf, and a red heifer. So like the red cow is like her thing, and I have seen her wear that in one of her in one of the like journeys that I took with her in this class I was taking at the Irish Pagan School. So there's I keep getting little slivers of like the Morrigan Isis connection. I don't know what that is completely yet, but there is something there with the bull. And also this article is saying how like the beetle is also symbolic of this, if this is the moon and this is the sun. I don't know, but check out this article. It's really interesting. I need to do way more research before I can make any conclusions about this, but I thought it was super fascinating. There's definitely something with that. The Golden Gate of the Ecliptic, regardless, right now, it's a portal doing something with this full moon. And when I picture it, like, in the spirit world, I do see some kind of, like silver. It is silver, like, some kind of silvery, like, electricity with this point. Just make sure that's everything I wanted to say about that. So there's something with the Taurus constellation, with the Morrigan, with Isis, with Hathor, with Bat, and I don't know what that is yet. Here. So I put this little gate over just so you can picture it better. So here's Pleiades, here's the Hyades sisters, the Storm sisters, the Taurus constellation, and here's the ecliptic, so where the sun appears to travel. So I just thought this was so interesting. Here. So I put that picture of Hathor and the solar disk with the bull horns. Like I said, bulls were really sacred to a lot of tribes, a lot of cultures. But like I said, didn't get too deep in there, but there's something there with that. I don't know, let me know what you think about that. Let me just see if everything is good here. Oh wait, Janelle, you don't see the slides? Oh, you see it. Yeah, sometimes I forget, I'm sorry. Pleiades connected to Atlantis. I thought about that, but I don't know, honestly. I kind of feel it. I don't know if you have anything more to say about that, but I meant to ask you and then I forgot. Let me plug in my computer. All right. Also, Kelly, what you said about your eyes hurting, that's really interesting. Which point was it? One of these points I was talking about has something to do with the eyes. I don't remember which one it was. It was on Astrology King. I was looking at the different points. I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't think I actually wrote it down. But there was something with the eyes and blindness for one of the major aspects. Okay. Let's just look at the chart, pull some cards, and I think that's pretty much it as far as like the research for that stuff goes. So let's talk about the actual astrology and look at your chart as well to see where these degrees are to get a better idea of how this is going to like work out for you. All right. So I have it set to where the closer the aspect is to being exact, so the smaller the orb, the thicker the line is. Just so we can see, what is the most relevant or powerful in this moon. So the first thing I see, of course, was this grand air trine here, which is actually a kite, because then it has this sextile triangle here. So grand trines, especially in air, I always see this as kind of like a cycle of thinking that flows really, really, really well, but it doesn't know when to stop, right? So just getting stuck in that thought loop, which if you're in a positive state of mind, it's wonderful. But if you're not, it's really hard to break out of that. But the wonderful thing about the kite aspect pattern is that it offers a break of that trine and a way out. So usually the way that this works is we're in this, right? So the moon, Hygeia, and Jupiter. So we kind of have this like perfect circuit of mental, intellectual energy. And it's getting pushed out through the sun. So like the energy is literally breaking out through the sun. So what does this mean? This is our emotions, our emotional intelligence with Moon and Gemini, and our dualistic feelings, feeling literally both ways in neither way about everything, and the movement between the points of duality. Connected to Hygeia and Libra, which is, Hygeia is healing, Hygeia is medicine, but I see it as more like, Virgo kind of medicine. So herbalism and very like concrete, earthy ways of healing. And in Libra, I do feel that like we need balance. Again, we got to find our 0 point. We have to find our middle path, our balance. And with Jupiter in Aquarius, that's some like chaotic stuff going on here, especially because Jupiter is nearing the end now of Aquarius. So nervous system issues, I know I've been having that for sure. Anxiety, our minds just like aren't slowing down right now. And I feel like it's spun so out of control that like, it's not that we've hit a hard stop. It's like we're just kind of like if you throw like a ball and it's just kind of like bouncing all over and then slowly slowing down. That's how I feel about this. And then pushing out through the galactic center, through the sun. Oh my gosh. I'm just trying to intuitively feel. I feel that we need to adjust our vision, which is Sagittarius. We need to adjust, not our perspective. I feel that like what we're actually looking at, like it's like this big, like how we see the future, how we see our vision or what we want out of life. We have to like remind ourselves maybe that we're only seeing a small little point. And Gemini is here to save the day and is telling us, hey, there's actually 2 ways and there's actually a billion ways to see the same situation. And you don't have to necessarily just pick one. This is like the balance that we need right now between these 2 things. And the North Node has been in Gemini, so we've been really trying to integrate the polarity of Gemini, which is science and math and facts and writing and just like gathering the data in a completely unemotional way, versus Sagittarius, which is more grandiose, expanding the vision, also seeing the bigger picture, the philosophy, the higher maybe religious or spiritual meaning. So we've been really trying to like bridge that gap and not get stuck in that like Sagittarius, like arrogant belief system place, and move more towards into Gemini, which is like detached and unemotional and just like taking it for exactly what it is, in a zero emotion kind of way, which is kind of what we need, right, to balance that Sagittarius passion and maybe even though it's a mutable sign, being a little bit rigid when it comes to belief systems, because Sagittarius loves the law, they love religion, they love I always think of like yoga and following some kind of like structured religious thing. So this is actually a good thing, I think. This is like a really strong balancing point. And I think like all of that anxiety is maybe pointing us to how our own thinking and thought processes and our belief systems have maybe gotten in the way and spiraled like so far out of control from not remaining grounded that like we have to like literally take ourselves out of it and like see the bigger picture. I hope that makes sense. And we also have a yod. Let me change the aspects here because we won't be able to see them. There's also 2 yods here. Let me just throw the quincunxes in here as well. So yod aspect patterns, they create a lot of tension. Okay, it's not there. Quincunx aspects are very frustrating. Oh, I didn't actually turn it on. There. They're very irritating because they're between points that don't really go together and don't understand each other. This is really hard to see. Okay, so there's a yod between Venus and the South Node. Here's South Node. Here's Venus. Now, why isn't that drawn in? So the South Node and Venus, and then it's pushing out through the moon. Why does it look like that? Okay. I don't know why that's not drawing in right now. It's probably overwhelmed. So pushing out through the moon. So we have Venus and the South Node. Relationships, the way we love. Venus is stationary right now, about to go retrograde. Plus the South Node, karma, past lives, karmic relationships, soulmate issues, but also like habits that we're bringing from past lives individually and collectively. Those are actually sextile each other. It is pretty wide. That's probably why it's not showing up. Past life stuff, past life habits, and it's pushing through towards the moon. So it's pushing out emotionally. I kind of see this along the same lines. Let me just think about this for a second. So karma, and then we have our relationships, pushing out through the moon. This is like emotional healing that goes way, way deeper than just this lifetime. That's how I feel. Emotional patterns, the way that we use emotions to maybe get what we want or to even like self-destruct without realizing, that's the kind of issues that are coming up. So it's not easy, but if we can really do that deep, again, inner work and like make those points fit together, the yad becomes super, super magical. And like, it's almost like being like a wizard and like things that just normally do not work for whatever reason, we can make that happen. And it's going to be through the moon in Gemini. So through our intellect, but also like through our heart center, it's like changing the way that we communicate with each other. With Venus, especially with like our relationships and our close one-to-one partnerships. And this one isn't drawn in either. Am I just like making this up? I swear I looked at this before. So Hygeia, oh no, okay. Hygeia is sextile the sun, and why isn't it drawn in? Okay, so there's a yad between the sun, Hygeia, and Sedna in the North Node. I don't know why it's not showing up here. I don't really feel like figuring out either, but there is a yad there. The sun, healer, Hygeia, and also Sedna with the North Node. So I see this, especially with Chiron doing its thing. Pain wounds coming up. Speaking of pain wounds, my mom just texted me. She's like, I'm sick right now. The North Node. So where we're going, I don't know what your guys' dreams have been lately, but I feel like father figure, like male wounds, like that's really been coming up for me a lot. And that's really what Sedna represents too, like taking our darkest, worst betrayal moments and then transmuting them into something powerful for us, like just for us. And to me, it's like embodying the queen that we really are, despite whatever has happened. So this is really, really powerful. And I think it's almost like bracing us for the intensity that this Venus retrograde is going to be, because it's going to be. I mean, Venus is just sitting here next to Pluto, the destroyer. It's going to reverse over Pluto, and then it's going to go back over Pluto a third time. I don't remember who it was, I'm sorry, but on Instagram, another astrologer was talking about how on the day that Venus conjuncted Pluto is when we had all those tornadoes, which is really interesting. I don't know if I would ever like connect Venus with that personally. I guess it kind of makes sense. I don't know. There's also a T-square, which you can see here with the South Node, Sedna, and also pushing through Jupiter. This is like some really, oh, it's not exactly a T-square. Oh, no, it is. Okay. So this is really chaotic energy. This is like serious nervous system anxiety, breakthrough, tower kind of moments. I'm definitely feeling that tower energy. Look at where 28 degrees of Aquarius is in your chart. And just based on like how you're feeling nervous system wise, I wonder if that has something to do with it as well. Because Jupiter is going to want to get done those Aquarius things for sure before it moves into Pisces. So to me, this is going to be like peak Aquarius kind of energy, which is chaos, which is revolution, rebellion, breaking free, liberation, but it can also be quite healing with Aquarius being the water bearer. I'm just thinking of like the star card. It can also be like a surrendering moment where we just kind of open up and are able to like move through and like holding hands with the universe kind of thing. Okay, so fixed star wise, we have in alignment with Orion, fixed star Rigel, which is actually conjunct Black Moon Lilith, which is at 17 degrees of Gemini. Orion being the hunter, which is pursuing Pleiades. And we also have the fixed star Faces conjunct Mercury in Capricorn, which is up here. So we're going to talk a little bit about Oya too. Oya is a Santeria Orisha. They're not called goddesses. She's just been coming into my reality. I have this book. I don't have it here right now. It's called Dark Goddess Craft by Stephanie Woodfield. It's a really interesting book. She has like these different meditations with different goddesses, and she actually included Oya. And I feel like Oya, just based on the little that I've read of her, it's just very relevant because she's a fierce and powerful female warrior Orisha in Santeria. And she rules the marketplace, which made me think of Mercury, and she's conjunct Mercury right now, which I thought was really, really interesting. She's also like a trickster in a way too. I've only had a few experiences with her, but I definitely get the trickster energy, like for sure. She like finds joy in it, it seems, and there is an asteroid Oya. So she also rules the gates. She's the keeper of the gates of the cemetery. So she's also very like connected to storms. She wields lightning. She rides the winds into battle. She's known for having like a very like intense temperament, just like a storm, like a lightning storm. Like when you see just like a huge like thunderstorm coming in, it's very dark with all the lightning. You feel the ground rumbling. That's like Oya energy. And I felt like that was significant with Mercury being conjunct Oya, and also the fixed star Faces being conjunct Mercury. Also, Mars is sextile Pluto. I don't have sextiles drawn in here. So there's definitely energy coming in, and I always feel like it's the goddesses like coming to save the day. They're not here to save us, but they're here to help us navigate the really intense Uranian Aquarius energy that I'm feeling right now. There's something coming in. I was talking to somebody about these storms and whether they were man-made or not, because they are very bizarre. The tornadoes they had in Minnesota, it's the first time they've ever had tornadoes there, ever, in December. It's very bizarre. I definitely get a weird feeling from it. I kind of felt it for days coming beforehand. I don't know if you guys felt that too. But there's something about us needing to ground as well, which is something else that I think Mercury is showing us, especially conjuncting Mercury right now. Like, we gotta ground. We gotta put our hands or like in the ground or like our feet. I know it's really cold, at least it is here. There's also something called the buzzing bee breath that you can do to like release the electricity in your body. It's like a yoga breath. Basically, it's where you like cover your ears and your eyes and you inhale, pause, exhale, and hum for the whole exhale, pause, inhale. It does help me for sure, like get rid of that electricity. And we're so like bombarded by it with EMFs and, you know, the Wi-Fi and 5G and like all of that stuff. So there's definitely a need to ground, especially with this full moon. Cause like I feel like the storms are coming. I don't know. That's just what I feel. And what else here? The sun is sextile Jupiter and the moon is trine Jupiter. So moon trine Jupiter, let's talk about that. That alone, again, is this intellectual, liberating breakdown, breakthrough. I just feel like we need that earth right now. We need that earthy energy. Maybe tapping into that gate like in the Taurus constellation will help us because it feels out of control to me. I really thought it was just me, but apparently it's not. I've just been feeling like it literally feels just like it's like more than a tornado. It's like a cyclone of just like energy like swirling over the earth right now, and it's really, really overwhelming. And I can't really figure out where it's coming from. I just know that it's there. So I don't know how you guys are feeling about that, but let me see. Oh yes, okay. So Pleiades is the daughters of Atlas, I think. Oregon. I really need some of that. Actually, I think one of my clients had gotten me some, and I think it's in my car, and I kind of forgot about it. All right, so let's just do some cards and call it a day. Night. So, yes, electricity, lightning, a lot of it. It doesn't feel natural to me. You know what I mean? It doesn't feel normal. I don't even know what normal is anymore. This card is standing out right away. This is always an interesting card. It's like the Justice card, but not. Okay. So what do we need to know for this full moon to navigate it appropriately for the highest good? I love that bottom card, you know, that always sticks out. Oh, wow, okay. So the other bottom card is the Hermit. With this. I don't know how you guys interpret this card. It's also one of those stage cards, so it looks like she's actually on a stage. So I pulled for the past the Knight of Swords reversed, which is like anxiety. Like that's just like so much mental energy. For the near past, the Hanged Man. For the present card, the Star. Speaking of the Star. With the little Inanna Halupu tree, which is in the background of that card. And then also in the future, the Three of Cups, which is like the near future. And then the far away future, the Four of Wands, which is another stage card. So it's not that it's not real, but I always see like stage cards as like potential. So have hope that things can be different than what they are now. A message I was really getting strong yesterday was that, you know, I really love like looking into this conspiracy stuff. I don't really have a tough enough shell for it, to be honest. It really gets to me after a while. And the message I was getting about that was like, if you're super upset about it and it's like ruining your day, like they've already won. You know, whether you're like revealing the truth or not, if like you yourself are suffering, then they've kind of accomplished what they're trying to accomplish with that stuff. So I was trying to like take a step back. We'll see how long that lasts. The World. Okay, so things are coming to an end. This is like the end of a cycle. A really, really big one that we've been trying to push through, and we have successfully for a long time. But we also need to like readjust our vision and where we're going. Because, yeah, again, we're not seeing the whole picture. And for some reason, our vision is like blocked. Like what we're seeing is not the full thing. It's almost like we can't see it yet. And it's kind of at that point now where we just really have to trust the process and have faith that things will get better. And again, life is meant to be celebrated. And that's what I always feel about this Three of Cups. Life is meant to be celebrated. We're not resting when we need to rest. That's for me, for sure. So taking a rest when you actually need a break. All those problems are going to be there tomorrow, you know, whether we feel like we have to do it right now or not. And if we continue this way, like, it's going to be so beyond burnout. And I always think this is interesting because it's a Swords card. It's about resting and needing a break. Reverse is like we just never did it. We just kept going. And that really can affect like mental health too and like anxiety. I hate this card. Why does this keep coming up lately? This is about deceit. This is about being deceitful and lies, and you either not being, or me not being honest, or other people not being honest to us. This is like such a tough message to hear, but I think I'm just going to say it because this is what I thought when I looked at these two cards together. Sometimes, like, I don't know, when you get, I'm trying to word this the right way, Mercury and Libra here, it's kind of like when you get really stuck like in mental health issues, sometimes, not all the time, like it's a real thing. Sometimes it ends up being like in an almost like selfish state of mind. If you refuse to do anything different, if you refuse to help yourself and you don't want to see things differently and you don't want to try, it can kind of like get into this energy. Does that make sense? I don't even want to say it, but That's just kind of what I was thinking when I looked at it. A lot needs to come to an end, and we have to really surrender at this point, because I think, like, we've tried so hard to make something work, and at this point, because it's not working the way that it should, the only thing that we can do is, like, remember to celebrate the little things in life, have hope for the future, have hope that things can be different, and that, like, we will be fulfilled, because you will. You know, it's really, it's up to us, but, like, we can't force it. You know, things just kind of happen when they're supposed to happen. The Wheel of Fortune. Yeah, y'all need to take a break. Me too. Like, seriously, though. It's like when you work so hard and you get to that point of burnout, beyond burnout, whatever that is, when you get to that point, you can't perfect your craft anymore. You know, you can't push further because you're just too tired. You know, you just got to kind of put it in the hands of the universe, and, like, and you are lucky, you can have luck, and good things just happen to you. I think, like, as humans too, we just want to control everything. And I'm just thinking of, like, Scorpio, Cancer placements, at least with myself, like, wanting to control and not even seeing, like, what's there or, like, the potential, because you just want to control it and you want it to be a certain way. So just, like, if you can, star card it, you know, let go. Be inspired. Are you inspired right now? Have inspiration. Creativity only really comes when you, like, slow down long enough to let yourself create and, like, just be creative and express yourself. So yeah, that's kind of, like, a tough message to hear, but I think that it's, like, on one hand, we can only control what we do, but I think we're just pushing ourselves a little too hard right now and being too hard on ourselves. Because, I mean, look at nature. Like, nature isn't growing very much right now, at least in the northern hemisphere. So why are we trying to, like, force ourselves, like, level up? I don't know. That's how I feel with my planets in the 10th house. It's like I'm always trying to, like, level up, but sometimes you just gotta, like, literally, like, force yourself to take a break. Like, take the break. Trust the universe and figure out how you can just, like, let go and not worry about the details for a second, and, like, celebrate things that are worth celebrating. You know, your best friends, your relationship, your kids. Do the things that you love and enjoy. Okay. God, I don't like using this deck sometimes. It's always like, this is what your problem is. Fix it. That's always what I get from the traditional deck. Sometimes, like, when I don't even want to hear the truth, I'll just, like, pull out my other decks, my oracle decks, and I'm like, yeah, I just want the archetype. I don't really want to tell me what my problem is. All right. Okay, so I'll just check the chat box. You just got the Four of Swords, too. I need, like, a month-long break, to be honest. Like, just, like, lay on a beach or something. Oh, I'm sorry, Janelle, that you're a mess. Me too. Oh, my gosh. Have hope, I guess. Man, yeah, the energy is intense. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful full moon. Yeah, I was just going to work more tomorrow, but I think after reading this whole thing, I'm going to do my ritual stuff, and I'm just going to, like, hang out, maybe make some ornaments or something. Okay, thank you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful rest of your night, and I will see you guys in the Discord. Okay, bye.